Oh, what's that smell? It smells so familiar. It smells like greedy corporations. So since not a lot of people seem to be talking about this, I may as well. You know, Jim Sterling has already covered a video on this, which is insane, seeing as how he is. Generally, I don't think he is a fan of the series, and I just don't see a lot of people talking about it, which is a real shame, as it's something I feel could affect the game as a whole. And from the way things are looking, oh yeah, it's gonna affect it alright. And so I just want to kind of make this video to just share my thoughts and get this topic a little bit more coverage, because we need to talk about this. Arc system works. We need to talk about this. Because what you are doing with cross-tag battle, it reminds me a lot of, I don't like to make this comparison, but just for the sake of argument, I will. It makes you feel like EA. You may not be doing loot boxes or microtransactions, but the stunt you are pulling here definitely reminds me of a certain individual company responsible for, what's its face? Gamblefront 2, or whatever. But, okay, let's actually get into the meat of this discussion. So, a cross-tag battle trailer was released earlier this morning, and, you know, it just goes through the character roster and rundown of, like, all the characters that are currently in the game, and it's been speculated this time that they would show Blake Belladonna from Ruby, and they did, at the end of the trailer, when there was no other new character announced, and they announced her as DLC. Now, normally, I do not have a problem with DLC. I mean, I play Central Fiction. That has 4 characters up for DLC, but one of them you don't even need to buy at all, since Susanoo is unlocked from the story mode and you can just buy him if you feel impatient. But then there's the other 3, which include Mai, Natsume, S, and Jubei, which you have to buy if you want to play as them. And you know, $8 is kind of a steep cliff, but you know what? I'll deal with it. It's just a few DLC characters. It's not like it can hurt me all that much. But something like this hurts the game. Like, announcing Blake this early on as a DLC character makes me worried. Because, like, look at Fighters. Look at Dragon Ball Fighters. Like, I know it's not something I normally talk about on this channel, but I've been watching it for a lot of time, and I'm seriously thinking of investing in it. But just, like, look at how Dragon Ball is covering it. Look at how Dragon Ball is dealing with the situation of DLC. You know, the game's gonna come out same day as Monster Hunter World, which is gonna be some serious, steep competition, but they haven't announced DLC, or they have announced DLC for the roster in future updates. However, they haven't said what characters are DLC. And that's something a lot of video games seem to have a problem with, especially nowadays with the whole trend of we gotta have DLC, season passes, and loot boxes. It just seems like that video game companies now, more than ever, will announce all these expansions before the game ever releases. Like, announcing a season pass at the official trailer, announcing that there will be DLC for this and this, that will include this and this, before the game is ever out in stores. That's a big worry. And Dragon Ball is actually doing it really well. They're not doing it. They're not announcing what is going to be DLC, just that there is DLC. And I think Dragon Ball is handling the situation really well. On the other hand, we have BlazBlue. Alright, let me just say that an official release date for the game has been announced. And it is 4 months away. May 8th is the release date for this game. That is literally 4 months from now, or almost 4 months. and they are announcing a DLC character in the form of Blake. They show Blake in the trailer, but they're just gonna have her as DLC. This is just more of like... This is more of an agreed problem. This is a problem about the game's roster as a whole. Because it's been confirmed that there are going to be 40 characters entirely in this game. But that 20 of them will be DLC. 20! That is 1/2 of the full roster are going to be DLC. That is ridiculous. And I feel especially bad for the other fans of the other franchises out there. Like, BlazBlue has just been getting all the love, while others such as Ruby, Undernight, and Persona are just kind of left lackluster at the moment. I mean, let's look at this. Out of the current roster of 20 characters that have been revealed, not including Blake, because she is DLC, out of the characters included, 10 of them are BlazBlue. And then, if we look at the other characters' rosters, we only have 4 from Undernight, 4 from Persona 4, and 2 from Ruby. I'm not counting Blake, because she is DLC, but that is 1/2 of the 20 characters that have been revealed so far to be BlazBlue characters, and I honestly feel really bad for the other people. Like, you know, in a game where it's like, it's a crossover of all these different franchises, it's an important aspect to have an equal representation of all these franchises. Like, I know that it's kind of weird to draw this comparison, but I'm gonna do it right now. Look at Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I'm not saying it's doing its system right, far from it. It's done a lot of things wrong in the past. But at least with Infinite, it has representation in both the Capcom and the Marvel side. There may be some characters that we want to see who haven't gotten it, or popular characters that aren't in the game, but overall, there's an equal representation, or at least equal representation of the characters from each franchise. And with a game that is going to include 4 franchises, this is a problem even more so, because now it's not just 2 franchises you have to worry about of getting equal representation in a fighting game. Now it's 4 franchises. And it's also important in terms of character choice. What characters do you want to make it in? Are they important? Do they need to make it in? And it's just stuff like this, which is really important about a fighting game's roster, and more importantly, a crossover fighting game roster. And at the moment, cross-tag battle is just failing at it. Like, 10 characters out of the 20 so far, BlazBlue. 20 out of the 40 full characters will be DLC. And I'm gonna predict this right now. I'm going to use Future Sight, and I'm going to predict the future. Alright, so hear me out. Arc System Works is planning on releasing a definitive version of cross-tag battle. Because the trend with BlazBlue games have always been that there's an ultimate, an extended edition, and this has been done with Chrono Phantasma and I believe the second game in the franchise. Not so much 1 and 4, as they really don't need extended editions, but you get what I mean. And the extended edition has always included all the DLC or bonus characters that were DLC in the previous versions. So, let's think about this. 20 characters as DLC. At the moment, Arc System Works is banking on this, because as much as we hate it, it's a great way for a company to get money. You know, just using DLC, expansion packs, and all this kind of stuff to get more money out of the character, and as a result, more things for them to play with, like more characters. But in return, it also gives Arc System Works or whatever company more money and more ideas to pull further stunts like this. And, you know, I'm expecting that once all 20 of the other characters in the 40 roster are officially released as DLC, that Arc System Works is going to announce a definitive version of Cross Tag Battle, because it's got to make that money. It's got to make the moolah. And, you know, what better way to get the most efficient money out of the audience than by releasing characters that they want as DLC in a game of 40 characters with over half the roster as DLC, and then, once most people have probably already bought the DLC for all the characters that they've wanted to play as in the original version of the game, announce a new version. That way, not only are all their expenditures just totally obsolete because there's a new version coming out, but have this new version have all the characters in the game. No DLC whatsoever. And boom! That is probably going to be Arc System Works' plan, because it's honestly just what I'm foresee, and I honestly don't want to admit this. Like, I'm a fan of the franchise. I've been a fan since Chrono Phantasma. I've not been the franchise of the longest, but I love it. It has some of my absolute favorite characters in Blaze Blue and media as a whole. Like, freaking, I love Termi. And you can probably guess that from seeing most of my videos lately where I've been using them as my avatar. And, you know, I like their games. I like how they play, and I like the combo system, and I'm not really that good at fighting games. The only fighting games I've ever played and thought I was good at was Smash Bros. That's it. So to have another game franchise where I feel confident in my skills as a fighting game person, it's really important to me. And as a fan, I have to speak with my mind, and with my wallet, of course. And I'm gonna say this, I'm actually thinking of not buying Cross Tag Battle when it comes out, because of the crap and stunt that Arc System Works is pulling right here. They are pulling our legs and saying that, oh yeah, buy a game while we slowly announce all 20 of the rest of the 40 characters as DLC that you'll eventually have to buy down the line, and then whoops, we're probably gonna make an extend version including all those DLC characters and more. Sorry, looks like you just wasted all your money. It's just a practice I can't get behind. And I know people will say, like, oh, what about Monster Hunter? Doesn't it make expansion versions? And they're right. Monster Hunter does make expansion versions. But at least Monster Hunter doesn't have paid DLC. At least its monsters aren't DLC. I mean, of course there's Devil Joe in the news trailer as free DLC, but that's free. We're talking about free content that'll be added to your game in an update. In this situation, we're talking about paid DLC. And with Monster Hunter, it's always been about the expansion packs, the Ultimate Edition. And, you know, there's going to be new monsters and stuff in the game. And so really, I don't have as much problem with that, because there's not as much wastage, I guess, going on. Like, by the time we're making the Ultimate Edition, they thought up ahead, invented plenty of new subspecies and monsters, both returning and new to include, as well as some new things to add in. And, you know, that's cool of them. Always adding content to a game and making the games better. That's cool. But with a practice like this, where almost half the entire roster is going to be DLC, and knowing down the line that there will probably be an extend edition just to include all those characters, I'm sorry, I just have to say no to. It's bullcrap. And it's especially bad for all the other fans of the other franchises in the game. All the Ruby fans, all the Persona fans, all the Under Night fans. They must feel terrible right now, because they don't have as great equal representation in the game as the Blaze Blue characters and the Blaze Blue fans have. And honestly, I just think I'm not gonna buy Cross Tag Battle when it comes out, because I can't stand by this. I can't stand by a practice where it forces the player to either buy over half the characters that are supposed to be in the game to have a full, complete roster, especially if it's characters that they turn out that they love, but they aren't in the game. And I just can't get behind that. I've always tolerated DLC in the past, especially for fighting games, because it's only been a few characters that have been included as DLC. But to have over half the roster as DLC, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to say no to. Absolutely no. There's a saying on the internet where you speak with your wallet. If you don't agree with something, speak with your wallet, because companies like Arc System Works and the stunt they're pulling right now care about the money. That's their goal, to get as much money as possible. So they pump out the DLC, forcing you to pay for characters that you want, or if you want a complete roster, and then eventually getting an extend version out there. That's a money-making tactic that works extremely well for them. And they want it to work well for this game. Because, you know, they're really extending over the line, like a certain other company did with another certain game. You know, I just think Arc System Works has reached too far. They've gone too far over the finish line, and are now just pulling bullcrap like this. And, you know, who knows, I might be wrong on my predictions. I might be wrong on the fact that there is no extend version, and that, well, we're just gonna have to be forced to pay up to have a roster of 40 characters. Whatever, I don't know. I'm only predicting. I'm not saying for sure, but it's definitely something I foresee, and I see it as most likely. You know, it's the best tactic for them to get money, and the most money out of a game and its fan base. So people, if you don't agree with this, speak with your wallet. Don't buy the game. Do not buy the DLC if you do not agree with this. Wait. If you are a fan and you actually want to buy the game, wait for the definitive version to come out. Because then, at least we won't have to pull up with the bullcrap that is this. And you know, it just really sucks as a BlazBlue fan, and just a guy who just wants to see this game be good and well. And I'm liking it so far, but, you know, it's hard to be hyped for a game and to feel optimistic about it when it pulls crap like this. But I think that's about enough of me rambling for now. I probably repeated a lot of my points, I probably didn't do as many things as other people. Well, I'm just getting my honest thoughts out there. And so with that discussion all done and said for me, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that this is a very bad idea? What do you guys see out of this situation? Like, I want to know, do you actually see this whole debacle hurting the sales of Cross Tag Battle? Because if people are in a storm about this, if people are angry about this, then I certainly see that this could in fact hurt the sales of the game. And you know, as much as I would like to see this game succeed, we gotta speak with our wallets, show them our minds, and gotta show them, as a consumer, hey, this isn't right, we don't agree with this. But that's been all for me. I have been TheMonarchofDragons, sign out, have a fantastic day or night, wherever you live. Peace.